Thank you, Kay, for that reading, enlightening us in those very familiar words. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Promises, promises. That's what the prophet's words were filled with. And look, he said, a new day is dawning. Harmony and peace shall envelop the entire earth, all living things. The miraculous will happen, causing the blind to see, the deaf to hear, the mute to speak, the lame to walk. There will no longer be thirst or hunger, sorrow and suffering will be no more. Instead, peace and joy will wash over the peoples of the earth. It'll wash over all the earth. Imagine that, if you will, for a moment. An image of peace and harmony enveloping us. There is a theme that runs through the prophet's words and through this Advent season, that things are going to be different for those who live lives true to divine love. Things will be different. Great things are going to happen. The prophet paints an amazing picture of what that might look like. And to an exiled people, the exiled people of Israel, those words must have sounded so very sweet. Imagine no poverty, no war, no struggling, no oppression, no health issues, no suffering. And we say, lead the way. I want to go there. I want to know that. But we are there. That hope is here and now. Though we may not always think so, and sometimes more than others, the dark moments in life threaten to overshadow the promise. But we are living within the promise that Isaiah spoke of. That is the point that many miss. Isaiah's message was twofold. You see, it was a foretelling of the physical Messiah coming into the world, who was so deeply longed for and told of. And they were waiting eagerly. But the second part of that is what we are invited to take hold of today, that spiritual change within individual hearts that gives new life to all, that works to usher in peace and harmony and joy through action. So indeed, the very things that divide humanity, poverty, sickness, oppression, will be washed away on the common ground of love. We take the words of Scripture sometimes and forget that the very things they point to are not often off on the horizon somewhere, but rather are reachable for us today. For they are not necessarily about a specific time and place, as if one external event should happen and the world will change forever. But rather, the prophet's words point to changes of the heart when touched by the Spirit of God's love. And that is available to us every single day of our lives. That makes the story real today, tomorrow, and forever. Indeed, the prophet foretold of a specific event, the coming of the long-awaited Messiah. But the impact of his coming, the impact of Jesus' birth that we have gathered to remember year after year and to come together here and to celebrate, does not bring change unless hearts are opened to be touched by the message and the promise. Hope does not come just because Jesus was born, nor does peace, nor love, or joy. Many in Jesus' day saw him, experienced firsthand the miracles, heard his teachings, and yet did not fully comprehend. Even John the Baptist, as we heard in the passage this morning, as he was in prison, had begun to hear about this man Jesus among the people, doing healings and speaking words of wisdom. And what does he say? He sends his messengers out to Jesus asking, are you the one who is to come? Or should we wait for another? Are you the one? We've asked that same question, I imagine. No doubt in the privacy of our own minds, especially when the hard times hit and we say, why me? Where's the fulfillment that I've been searching for? Are you really the one that's come to change my life? There was an elderly woman who had experienced a very difficult period of time in her life. Her husband had passed away, her children all very caring but did not live close, though they often spoke to her on the phone regularly. She lived in a very small home and just had enough to cover her bills. But every time a friend would stop by, she would say to them, I am the richest person in the world. And she would tell of a phone call that she had from one of her children, or a cardinal that came to visit her bird feeder that afternoon. She would never allow anyone to feel sorry for her, but always came back with that same phrase, I am the richest person in the world, with a face that expressed peace and contentment. Was life perfect for her? No. Was everything the way she had wanted it to be? No. But she had found joy in her heart that gave her strength and perseverance. Is that not the joy that we come to as we come here during this Advent season? To see once again, to recognize, and to have it change our hearts. Barbara Brown Taylor, some of you might know of her as an author and an ordained Episcopal priest, now retired. But she once commented on the aspect of joy by saying, joy doesn't happen when we get what we want. It is much more likely to happen when we do not get what we want and find ourselves laughing instead of crying, because God shows us another way. It is there in that wilderness, she says, in that empty-handed, I give up surrender, that joy is most likely to occur. And that is how you know God is present, because no one else knows how to make life out of death. Joy cannot be measured by how happy we are, but by how content we are in our hearts. And that is precisely the message that the prophet was sharing. It is the posture of our hearts, minds and souls that makes the difference. A child born in Bethlehem puts a face on that joy, but it will not be a reality in our lives unless we are touched by it within. How many times have you said to a friend experiencing a crisis, hang in there? I always think of a get well card that I've seen with a little kitten, and so everyone knows it, right? A little kitten hanging there on some bar, like, dangling its little feet into the air. And I still use that saying a lot to people, hang in there, you'll get through this, hang in there. But a colleague once made a great point that I have not forgotten, though I haven't really changed that phrase. He said, there is a big difference between hanging in and holding on. Think about that. You see, hanging in there conjures up an image of our feet dangling in midair with nothing beneath us. But holding on implies something quite different. An image of arms wrapped around and feet planted firmly. Holding on through the storm. Christmas joy is that which allows us to know a deeper sense of contentment that drives us forward in spite of the negative experiences of our lives, because we have something to hold on to. And that something comes from the knowledge and trust that God is present with us. One of the many names, as you know, for Jesus is Emmanuel, which we sing in our Christmas carols, we'll sing at the end of our service today, it means God is with us. It is good for us to remember this holiday season as we revisit the manger and all the wonderful traditions of Christmas, that the potential for joy is not in things, nor simply in that one event in Bethlehem, but in us, in our hearts that hold on to the presence of love, the unending presence of love. So joy is not in things, but in the presence of God's Spirit that dwells within us every single day. And it is contagious. Like when you wear a smile on your face. How often do you get a smile in return? If you haven't tried that, give it a whirl. It works. A smile is contagious, but so is joy in our hearts. So while that smile might be simplified, how much greater change will come when we choose to live with contentment in our hearts, aware that what we need we have, and what more we have we give. That's what contentment is all about. The reality is this: it is not enough that we come to the scriptures of old for hope that joy will come, but that we embrace the awareness that we, each of us, are that hope in our world today. It is divine love that empowers us, gives us the capacity to make positive change within ourselves, our families, our communities, our world. It truly is up to us to put a smile on the world, a deep down in the heart and soul joy and satisfaction that brings all of us together in harmony and peace. Now, before you roll your eyes and wonder how on earth can that happen, remember we are all a part of the miracle of life. And that means the impossible can and does happen. This Christmas, may joy be born again in each of us, not because everything is going our way, but because even when it is not, we know that we are not alone. We have one another. And we have the promise of Emmanuel, God with us. That truth is real today and tomorrow and forever. Amen.